everyone. Welcome back to episode number 7 of Behind Enemy Lines, Montreal Canadiens fan hockey podcast. As always, joining me is my partner in crime, Steve.
Thanks for having me back yet again, and welcome, Hab fans. And let's say it's a good time to be one right now.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. Today's episode, we're going to do a breakdown of last night's game between Montreal and Seattle, which is was exciting for many different reasons. So we're going to do a breakdown on that, on basically the pregame ceremonies, the commemoration to Mr. Dryden, and the actual game itself. And then after that, for today's topic, we're going to discuss retired jerseys and who's retired, who's not, who should be, and what we think. And we'd like to hear what you think as well. But first, as always, Steve's going to take it away with today's trivia question.
All right, let's dial us in. We're talking about retired jerseys, so we'll keep that as a theme. The Montreal Canadiens have retired multiple jerseys. I think they are the league's leader in retired jerseys. Having a long history will do that for you. So tonight's trivia question will be 15 jerseys are retired. Three jerseys are retired for two players. So we have 18 Montreal Canadiens players retired for their jerseys. Three different jerseys are shared by two players. So what three jerseys and who are the players?
Excellent,
And
excellent.
we'll wrap that up after. So
And I can give a little hint on this one. These three numbers will pretty much span the majority of the franchise's history. There is a lot of years covered.
yeah, there is, and a lot of trophies and a lot of awards attached to all these
Mhm.
guys. So,
Yeah.
if you're a diehard and a throwback, some of them should be easier to attain than others. But
Yeah.
this is a good one.
Yeah, yeah, excellent question. With that, we're gonna get right into our game breakdown: Habs versus Seattle. I know we both watched it. It was a fantastic game. I know you want to just start in the order, do the pregame, and work our way that way chronologically. I guess makes the most sense.
Yeah, let's just do it that way.
Okay, so let's just start it off with where it should start, with the Ken Dryden ceremony. I was blown away as always. What do you think?
Yeah. Again, we talked about it leading into the game day episode of it's an event. And it's always an event to get the crowd dialed in, wound up, and it's electricity personified.
Mhm.
You add in a touch of class and a tribute ceremony to a legend who's no longer with us, and you can't help but be glued on bated breath watching
Mhm.
highlights and video and some of what Ken spoke of and how his words will live on in the hearts and heads of people that were there and watched it on TV.
Mhm.
He was a very intelligent man, and if you haven't read his books, please pick them up and read them. Now is as good a time as any. But he was eloquently spoken, and the presentation last night was right on par with that.
Mhm.
So
Um,
we talk about the electricity, the fire and the flames, and all that leading into it, and it's again, they didn't disappoint.
yeah, and I just want to touch real quick. I know we got a lot to cover in this episode and try to keep it within a within a time before it's bedtime. Um, uh, Four quick points I want to make on it. One, I just thought that having Bob Gainey reading an excerpt from the book was, again, covered a lot of things. It was very touching. It was very appropriate. Two was, I mean, the helmet on the net and the light. I mean, that, he stood down there by himself a lot alone. Spent a lot of time alone, but when he was needed, when he was called upon, he was there. I thought it was also touching that they had, you know, the former players that played with him there on the bench, and paying their respects as well. And one last thing, sort of on topic, but not. I know we had talked about it earlier. I was so excited to see Madame Beliveau there. I just thought it was a fantastic uh, way to top off the whole night.
Yeah, and like I said, we talk about class and respect and paying tributes to the right people with the right people, and Montreal touched all those bases. So, am
Mhm.
I surprised? No, but it's still as a diehard fan, it still manages to blow you away. And last night was no different.
Yeah, for sure. As far as the actual pregame ceremony itself in regards to the game. Again, I've never ceased to amaze. It seems the technology, the laser, the lights, the smoke, everything gets better every year. I just don't know how they do it. They seem to top themselves every year, and that's obviously a credit to the production team that puts it together. I mean, these guys got to be top notch.
Yeah, the production crew, marketing crew. I mean, there's some creative people in this world we know, but Montreal seems to employ them, whether they're on contract for just this type of episode or presentation.
Mhm.
But they find a way to outdo themselves year after year. We look forward to that flame, how it over encompasses the whole ice surface and overcomes everything, and then that leads into the next graphic. And again, it's just the music, the lights, the lasers. The one thing I thought was cool last night, and they did touch base with it on the television broadcast, was when they introduced all the players. All those players picked their own songs,
Mhm.
and then they had the in-house DJ. I think it was DJ Chantel, mixing and blending it all in. And again, just another classy way that the organization gets the past involved with the present, and the present meaning that those players had a say in their own entrance. So, a little bit of WWE-esque or Major League Baseball walk-up-esque. Nice that they had their own little mini theme song. So pretty cool, and you could tell the players were digging it as well.
Yeah, they were enjoying it as well. And on a personal note, I mean, what better way to start it off with the first song, Dire Straits? I mean, that's a pumping song to me.
Money for nothing.
Yeah. Um, a couple things that I noticed in that really impressed me. Um, it was as we expected and better, but I'm curious the technology, like like this has to be available to all the teams. Like I'm not sure why the teams don't do it as well. I don't know what it is. Again, it maybe it's a credit to the production crew. I mean, obviously the history we have helps. Um, but two things that stood out to me is when the players were being introduced, they virtually all got standing ovations, and the looks on their face, the smiles, you could see how happy they were. They were very appreciative of the fans, and the fans were very appreciative of each player. I mean, I can't imagine what's going through these players' heads, like in awe, thinking, "Wow." But I think the thing that impressed me the most was the virtually 30-second standing ovation that Martin St. Louis got. Has any coach ever got that before? I don't know. That was impressive to me.
Yeah, and you touched it. The players come out, and we got to remember we are the youngest team in the league.
Mhm.
There's a third of our team under the age of 21. So these are kids that are barely able to go to the
Mhm.
bar. Now they're coming into a rocking atmosphere like the Bell Center, 21,000 people cheering. And for that moment, just for them, when their name is being announced as a member
Yeah,
of this team, and you can see they are just getting jacked. You can dream of it all you want, but it's a different dream,
yeah.
right? It's a different atmosphere.
Mhm.
And when the players are excited, that's why they want to be here
Yeah.
because they're treated like royalty, they're treated like rock stars,
Mhm.
and they're given every ounce of that.
Mhm.
Marty St. Louis, again, I don't know that many coaches get the ovation in their own home cities. Maybe John Cooper might in Tampa because he's won them a bunch of cups and he's been there. Maybe Paul Maurice for the same reason. Um, do they cheer Leaf coaches? I doubt it. I mean, they cheer when they leave. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah. And then they
So
go win a cup somewhere else.
Yeah, and then they go win a cup. Thanks, Paul Maurice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Marty got a big standing ovation, and again, fresh off a contract, a new contract for Lane Hudson. We sort of broke that at the start of a episode a couple ago. 8 years, 8.85 million. You don't think the Hab fans are jacked to know that that kid's sticking around for 8 more years. He got a pretty loud ovation. The captain, obviously being the last guy on the ice, he gets a good one. The sheriff, he got a decent ovation. They all did, but there's a few. Demidov, he got a little bit more pop than most in
Mhm.
Galley. It's just great to see that the passion and emotion
Yeah.
that is consistent across the board is still there.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting time for fans and the players alike. So it's not a one-way street. I think the fans appreciate the players. I mean, I know we do, and I know the players appreciate the fans as well.
And
Uh,
yeah, and I'll just interject one more thing. And at the end of the game, when they interviewed Cole Caulfield after the game-winning goal, he's lost for words as they're still yelling and cheering at the end of the game, and
yeah,
he's chuckling to himself, and you can sit there and see him trying to take it all in.
yeah.
That's why these kids are signing for 8 years,
Yeah,
right? They
they
want to
can't
be
believe it.
there.
They just can't
Yeah,
believe it. It's the same thing. And again, to sort of extend the topic, um, Crosby mentioning about the ovations at the Four Nations Cup when they played in Montreal. He made mention that a lot of the players on that team had never got ovations like that in that building because they were the enemy, and
right.
they were blown away by how receptive and how loving the fans were for them.
Absolutely. And again, until you're there and you're getting it, it's a tough nut to swallow when you're on the other team hearing it,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
it's nice to at that point be the visitor, home visitor coming in and getting the love as well.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Gameplay, as far as the actual game goes, I'll let you start this one off.
I thought the first period we got off to a great start. That there was pre-games or not pre-game, but early morning skate video of Marty St. Louis showing Demidov how to enter the zone, stop and protect the puck and create some space. And if you have a chance to look for it, maybe we can link it and put it in the comments. But he did exactly that to set up New Hook. I
Mhm,
mean, what an entrance, what a pass.
mhm,
Um, Maybe not you, Sheldon, but maybe I could have scored that if I had my stick on the ice. I mean, these guys are professionals. You just got to be there.
mhm,
But again, it's the excitement that that kid brings.
mhm,
And we know last year New Hook looked like he was snake bitten, whether he was on Bob skates gripping the stick too tight, or just was a half a second between the brain and the feet catching up. But he seems to have found a chemistry early on with Demidov, and it's great to see, and we're
mhm.
starting to see some of those results. So I thought it was a great start, a great first period. I think it's our best first period so far
Yeah.
this year. I mean, Detroit, we were up 3-1 at the end of one, but I won't say we dominated.
Mhm.
I thought we dominated the first period.
Yeah. And I agree. As we discussed, my concern was, are they going to be ready at the, drop of the first face off because of the ceremony, or was it going to be a couple shifts in? And you're right. They were pumped and they were skating from minute one. I think what I noticed was, as well, you had said about the controlling. Montreal seemed to control most of the play for the majority of the game again, and that seems to be a recurring theme. But I think that happens again with their speed and the speed of their transition game, which is noticeably improved this year. And I think partly because of some of the players that we have now, and more players are buying into the system. But I think that transition game is just lights out right now.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's probably our strength. I know opening night when we played Toronto, one of the segments that the sheep did at the intermission was who had the better defense, Toronto or Montreal. And surprisingly, all four Homer Network broadcasters all said Montreal had the better defense.
Whoa,
You
whoa,
know,
whoa,
I
whoa.
know, I know. Check
Did
outside.
you take, hey, did you take the red pill from the Matrix and you're
It,
gone into La La
Yeah.
Land? What's going
It's
on
a,
here?
it's a surprise, surprise. I don't know if they all had Baileys in their coffee that
Yeah.
morning, but they all gave kudos to the coaching staff and the
Mhm.
management staff of Montreal for assembling a very mobile defense.
Mhm.
And it wasn't just whether they were the four fastest skaters on the ice. They're not. They're just all savvy with the puck and can make that long stretch pass. And we haven't had four guys in the top four that can do that.
Mhm.
So, whether it's Gooley and Hudson on the ice or it's Matheson and Dobson, we have guys that can thread the puck up there.
Mhm.
And Jackeye and Carrier don't hurt us either, but they're not the offensively gifted D-men. So our transition game is great. Then you add in a couple extra, Kapanen and Demidov, a couple more fleet savvy skaters up front. And that makes that breakout pass, if it's hit and we can control it, that makes us twice as lethal because we go 200 feet real quick.
Yeah, and it creates lots of time and space for the rest of the players because now you got the opposing team having to look for that player hanging back for that breakout pass or floating ahead, I guess you would say, for that breakout pass, but it also makes you take a step back, creating that space where you get the time to get your head up and look for the puck or look for where that pass is. So it helps out twofold.
Yeah, and I mean, on the long period, that breakout pass could keep guys on the ice longer, and
Oh,
because
yeah, absolutely.
we are a good skating team, we're mobile.
Mhm.
That will lead down the road further breakdowns and more opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and before we get off the game itself, do you have any other thoughts you want to talk about as far as gameplay goes?
Yeah, we got probably the first time I've seen it really, where we were battling for the lead or staying, or we're tied at that point. We got a little bit sloppy at times, and we're trying to do too much. We transition the puck, move around our back end enough with passing to get out of our zone. I think every once in a while it's okay to ice a puck. It's not traditionally a Marty St. Louis thing. He doesn't like to do that because you're not guaranteed to win the faceoff. But trying to be too cute in our own end sometimes can cost you.
Mhm.
And I thought for the most part of the game we did a pretty good job at that. I just wish they'd utilize that. I mean, at least you get a 7-10 second breather where you can regroup, and maybe you need to swap wingers on the boards for the face-off to put yourself in a better position. But I'd rather do that the odd time than turn the puck over and have it end up in the back of our net, because we deserved a much better fate than an overtime win. But a win's a win to us, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. A an icing with a face off at the very least gives you a chance to regroup and reset and start fresh instead of panicking and getting tired and trapped into your own end. Where, like you
Or
say,
taking
where the
or
mistakes will
taking a
happen.
penalty and having them score. So
Yeah,
neither one of those outcomes are good. At least the odd icing, you get a chance to at least have a do-over.
yeah, yeah. I think the thing for my thoughts on the game, the two things that I kind of noticed the most is that Demidov goal to tie it up with two and change 240 in the game left, whatever. The patience and the poise. I mean, first it was a give and go play with Line A, I believe, where he dropped it, or sorry, he fired it over to Line A, back down at the bottom of the face-off circle, and he went to the open ice in the slot and got the pass back, and in the chaos he had the patience to just pull it back and wait and skate around and backhand it into the open net and waited to create that space. I mean, you got a 19-year-old kid playing like a 30-year-old player who's been there for 10 years already, which I just find the poise and patience on somebody so young is extraordinary. And the other thing that really uh, caught my attention was the timeout that they took in the overtime, and you can see St. Louis smiling at the players, kind of having a chuckle, kind of like they drew up that play, and then Caulfield scored that one, top right corner that, you know, there's probably only a handful of guys in the NHL could score that goal, and Caulfield is one of them.
Yeah. Let's backtrack. I just want to interject based on the Demidov goal. You're right. Poise, patience, good hands, just the overall wherewithal of what to do, and not be too antsy about it.
Mhm.
It was a fantastic pass from Line A,
Mhm.
but let's not. take something away from those two guys, let's give the other forward some credit because the third forward on that line was the guy in front causing chaos, and that was Brendan Gallagher.
Mhm.
Brendan Gallagher was doing Brendan Gallagher things. And, at his age, knowing that he's going to eat a cross check or he's going to get a slap shot in the back, I mean, he's still down there battling, trying to gain his space. And you watch a game and he goes into a scrum and all he has to do is rub somebody the wrong way and four guys want to jump him. And let's be honest, he only goes
Yeah,
up to most guys' armpits. He's
yeah.
not the biggest guy. And but he creates the biggest scene. So, his Tasmanian devil chaotic approach in front of the net, it just gave Demidov that little bit of extra time and created that space. So, I just want to give a shout out to the double ones there because he was just as monumental being there as he was passing the puck himself.
Yeah.
And then
Um,
and again, I will agree. The Cole Caulfield goal, he's a shooter. He's a pure shooter.
yeah.
He may not have the power of an Ovechkin type of shot, but he definitely has the eye of Ovechkin. He can put the puck in the smallest of spaces. He was looking that way. Decord was dead to rights. If he cheated, that opens up a bigger side. He tried to wait out Caulfield, maybe hoping the pass over to Suzuki might have been deflected or intercepted, or Suzuki missed it, and he put that in the space the size of a running shoe up in that top corner above the shoulder. So
Mhm.
hats off to Cole or Goal Caulfield as we like to call him, because he doesn't disappoint. And on a second note. There's not many guys in the NHL, Ovechkin being one of them. A shout out to the grade eight, who's now our all-time leading goal scorer in the league. But Cole Caulfield loves to score.
Mhm.
And that kid has a smile ear to ear that lights up the Bell Center, and he's got the right fans to do it for. So, it doesn't matter whether he scores and he's on the ice, but he loves to see that puck go in the net. So it's twice as rewarding when it's him.
Yeah, excellent for sure. And one last thought is it's like every time he scores, it's his first goal.
Yeah.
That's how I see is the way he is. Um, So that moves on, gets us on to our topic today, retired numbers. Without getting too deep and giving away the trivia question, I'm just going to quickly rhyme off the numbers that are retired. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 12, 16, 18, 19, 23, 29, and 33. Most Hab fans could, I just say them numbers. You can picture the name, you can picture the player, you could probably see that player skating down a wing, scoring a goal, whatever. But our topic of discussion here is retired numbers. I think probably the first question I want to ask you, Steve, who's not on that list that should be?
Well, we'll add one more number because it's not just a Montreal retired number. We do have a league-wide retired number, and
Mhm,
most people forget that some scrawny little kid from a small town, Brantford, Ontario. I think he was okay.
mhm.
He was okay.
Wait a minute.
Wayne
Oh,
Gretzky.
let's take a minute. Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, he was okay.
Yeah.
Wayne's number is retired league wide and for obvious reasons. So let's touch base on who should be retired. Should the league retire, while we're talking about Wayne, should the league retire any other numbers? Should Mario's 66 be retired league wide? I know a lot of guys will shy away from it out of pure respect for Mario, but should that number be retired league wide?
Uh,
And
I would say no, only because I think as great of a player as he was, and as many of the accomplishments he did, realistically, his career was shortened because of his Hodgkins and stuff like that, and to no fault of his own. And kudos on him for even coming back and playing, surviving that. But I just don't think he had the impact nationwide, internationally, growing the NHL the way that Wayne Gretzky did.
And I would tend to agree. And I only bring up Mario. I mean, we can go down a long length of players that were stellar. Should Yager being the second greatest goal scorer because he has the second most points in NHL history? Should he be up there? I mean, that sucker's still playing.
Yeah.
He's over in Czechoslovakia. I'm surprised that might be the only guy never been linked to coming to play for Toronto. So maybe
Mhm.
Toronto listeners, if you're out there,
Yeah.
Yogs is he's still skating. Maybe
Yeah,
he's your savior.
playing with his grandson on the left wing.
And future great
Yeah,
grandson is probably in training camp next year,
yeah,
so possibly he could come to Toronto.
yeah,
Um, but it's a touchy subject.
yeah.
Gretzky, you're right. Gretzky had a bigger impact on the whole retired jersey across the league just for his sheer impact on the game. He was the record holder of at 1.52 shared or complete record holder of 52 NHL records.
Mhm,
So again, he was the guy that he drew the game. The Russians started training differently because of him. They expanded to different markets. And he just had a bigger impact. So I'm all for one guy being a number retired. Um, Montreal numbers. Who's next? You
mhm,
know, we can throw out names. We talked about numbers. Some of the more recent ones. Patty Raw at number 33 is retired. He's probably the most recent player that would have been on that list. Um, you can say who's due to be retired. Toe Blake might come to mind, or Chris Chelios, Bill Durnan
mhm,
had a lot of records. Maybe Jock Lemaire, who was a player and a coach, assistant coach. He had a few roles. I mean, big impact in the organization. Frank Mahovlich or George Vesna. I mean, there's a trophy named after that guy. So they would be ones of the older retired numbers that would make sense. And, if you're going to throw one name in the hat that just recently retired or retired to us a few years ago due to injury, he is our franchise leader in wins as a goaltender. Carey Price's name would probably, largely in part by a lot of people, be included in that list.
mhm,
Um, might be too soon to do that with some of these older veterans that are probably owed their respects as well.
mhm,
But those are a few names that come to the top of my mind as far as who should be there.
mhm. I, I, I think I'm going to go a little bit more recent and more into our generation of growing up. I look at players like Steve Shutt, who was a big part of those teams in the 70s. He won all them Stanley Cups. Uh, Guy Carbonneau. Guy Carbonneau won the cup twice. He's been involved with the organization for a long time. And I'm going to throw another one out there because I hear the name and I get mixed emotions. It is Mario Tremblay. Mario Tremblay, I get mixed emotions for because, he was on all them, five Stanley Cups, was involved in the team. But to me, I just can't get over with him and Uhl as the Patrick Waugh fallout. And I don't know if that's why he's not getting consideration. I'm just throwing
Well,
out there for thought.
yeah.
It irks me.
The infamous, unfortunate 9 goals against
Mhm.
Detroit. And again, I was there for the home opener, and they play that on the video montage in Detroit. I mean, anytime Montreal's there,
Yeah.
they're an organization, and I can't say I blame them. It's just it's a sad day in Habs hockey history
Mhm.
when that happened. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of when you have a team that's been around 100 years, you gotta have a lot of history, and when you have a lot of history, there's a lot of tributes. You and I talked prior to as we were bringing up this topic, and I made the suggestion, and I will throw it out there. Do we keep retiring jerseys? At some point, if you stick around for another 100 years, are we going to left to everybody's wearing 81A, 81B, 81C as a number?
Mhm.
Do we have to go with Greek letters, alpha, beta, sigma? Are we doing, circle, square, triangle? At some point, the algorithm would change. Or is it time to have a ring of honor
Mhm.
where maybe guys that aren't Hockey Hall of Fame worthy, but had long, storied careers in Montreal, that they get their just desserts because they were great for our franchise and great in our city and did lots of things. So, for me, a guy like Steve Shutt would definitely fit the Ring of Honor.
Mhm.
Another guy, Chris Chelios. He was a Hab. He was a Blackhawk. He was an Atlanta Thrasher, a Detroit Red Wing. I mean, he played around. He played a lot of years. Not just in Montreal. So when you look at the length of his hockey career, he had more years in the NHL not in Montreal than he did playing for Montreal.
Mhm.
Um, Other guys, and this will rekindle the Saku Koivu belong in a Ring of Honor. He was a good captain. He is tied with John Beliveau for 10 seasons as a Montreal Canadiens captain.
Mhm.
So, the two longest serving captains, Beliveau and Koivu, he deserves his just desserts. His emotional plea, tribute coming back after his cancer. We talked about Mario's. Saku was in the same breath. And a little bit of a backstory. I was at the draft in Quebec City when Saku Koivu was drafted in the first round.
Mhm.
I had the luxuries. A good friend of mine, shout out Brian Hutchinson if you're listening, billeted Oshawa Generals. And because of that tie, I was able to go to the draft, and we were sitting down 8 rows off the floor in Quebec City at the Colisée.
Mhm.
And when Montreal came to the draft table, they announced, from Turku, Finland, Saku Koivu, and we went, Saku who? Little did we know, and a reason I don't have an NHL job, but that guy went on to have a stellar career.
Mhm.
And sadly, he left Montreal to go to Anaheim. Another guy who I think fits in that profile of the Ring of Honor.
Mhm.
Um, Mats Naslund, another
Can I
guy.
interrupt for a minute real quick? I just want to say you didn't know that guy and you didn't qualify for the job because you weren't a professional podcaster then like you are now. There's a
True, true.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I have a little bit more clout now. Um, so yeah, Mats Naslund, another guy,
Mhm.
great for us. The little petite Viking that just was like that little Energizer bunny. And
And
we have a
that bucket you
history.
used to wear.
Yeah, we have a history of bringing in the tiny guys that get good results.
Yeah.
So he's another guy that you could arguably say would go in there. The
Mhm.
the Guy Carbonos
Mhm.
did a lot for us,
Mhm.
and so I think the Ring of Honor, Carey Price would definitely fit in that montage. I think it's a different way to pay tribute to guys. I think Carey Price ends up in the Hall of Fame. That's it.
Mhm.
That's a no brainer.
Mhm.
Does he deserve a jersey retired? He's poor guy sacrificed a lot in our franchise with not much help and still won a ton of stuff. So that's where I would like to see it go personally, so we can tie in maybe two different numbers a year into the Ring of Honor or
Yeah.
three for the first couple of years because there's a lot that would fit in there.
Yeah, I got to go back to your first comment though about running out of numbers and where do you draw the line. Um, we've already got 15 numbers, I think it was we just mentioned retired. So now you're really cutting into the available number space. But I also think if you retire too much, too quick, do whatever, it waters down the meaning of those that are there because those that are there are very deserving of it, whether it be and in this case, their Stanley Cups, their commitment to the team, the longevity of their careers with the team, which leads me to believe I like the Ring of Honor idea for sure because there are players that have committed and sacrificed and played here. I just think I would like to see a little bit of a higher standard. Uh, for instance, who would I like to see the next number retired would be Steve Shutt. Rode shotgun with Guy and the boys, won 5 cups, was a dominant player in the 70s, not just with Montreal, but in the league league wide. Um, as far as a Ring of Honor goes, I definitely agree with a few of the players you mentioned. Um, Maybe that's somewhere where Tremblay goes. I mean, even though he won 5 cups, he had that little bit of sour note there with the Patrick Waugh thing. Maybe that's where Carbonell goes, his 2 Stanley Cups. I think the retired one has such a high bar of excellence and winning. I think you got to keep it that way, or it almost pays disrespect to those that are already there. But we can, like you say, show them the respect in a Ring of Honor. For instance, excuse me, I definitely think the first two I would put up there would be Koivu and Price. No doubt about it. They didn't win cups, but they literally gave everything they had for this team, and we're happy to do it. Another name I might consider is Kirk Muller.
Yeah, and again, all these guys came in and did different jobs with us at different times and were impactful. So I will, I know we could talk about this forever. Yeah, a guy like Shutt, maybe you're right. Maybe that's the guy who gets retirement, but the rest of the guys going to Ring of Honor. There's got to be something. I know the Toronto Make Me Laughs. They do honorable jersey number honors
Mhm,
where they're raised in the rafter on a banner,
mhm,
much like a Ring of Honor in a different theory,
mhm,
where they pay tribute to those guys, but that number is still available.
mhm,
Whether players would wear that number knowing it's up there and just pick something different. Everybody selects a number for a different reason. So I still think there's probably two or three that deserve an actual retired number, but the rest we could honor in a different way.
mhm. Well, I think if you were to look at, okay, all the discussion we had about, who's next, I'm going to throw a little bit of a twist. Who might be the next of the current era of players? I see obviously the most logical choice as Suzuki. I mean, I know we're looking far enough, way on down the road, but we're going to be there at some point and we'll be there before you know it.
Yeah, the only other one, and again, you're talking about a retired number in Montreal doesn't necessarily mean he was the best player.
Mhm.
But Brendan Gallagher would have to sort of by the same account based on longevity and what he was willing to
Yeah.
sacrifice would have to be somebody else. But I think with his production and his statistics, the Ring of Honor or an honorable mention tier of whatnot, we'll
Yeah.
just keep it as the Ring of Honor for now.
Yeah.
He probably belongs there because he didn't win trophies, didn't win, didn't get accolades. He was just a heart and the
Yeah.
the
He
warrior. He
won
wore his
hearts,
heart
not
full.
cups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but yeah, Suzuki. He's already year four of being captain. There's nothing. He's got an 8-year deal. There's nothing that says he won't get to that 10,
Mhm.
12 year mark and be our longest serving captain in history
Mhm.
because he's earning it.
Yeah. And on that note, final thoughts. What final thoughts do you have?
Final thoughts. Again, we will touch base on the game. We're trending in the right direction. Where the organization is doing things with class, and it's not going to change. The fans are passionate. Let's ride this wave a little bit longer. We'll look slightly ahead. We have three more home games this week, over the next 7 days. So it's one game at a time, one period at a time. But I'm encouraged by the 60 minutes of constant play.
Yeah, we're on it. We're definitely on the right track. Um, the only final thought I have in regards to, I guess it would be an overall on today's whole episode from everything from opening ceremony to retirements. Um, as a side little note and a little bit of a dig at the Leafs, I had a cousin that actually worked at Maple Leaf Gardens, the original, back the original building. Um, and they were doing renovations there. And he said to me, he goes, Sheldon, he goes, you're not going to believe what happened at work. He used to work at night. His office was actually right underneath center ice. He was just a regular Joe maintenance guy, cleaning up, mopping floors, doing all that stuff. But he said they were in there on a day shift one day, and the painters that were painting the building were using all their banners because they were painting the roof. They took the banners down, like their Stanley Cup banners and their retired jersey banners, and they were using them as drop sheets for painting. They got destroyed. So they all had to be remade and hung in the building. And I'm not 100% sure on this one, but I think the other ones just got thrown in the garbage because they were totally ruined. Now, to me, that says all I need to know about the Leafs right there.
Well, the curse of Ballard lives on. God
Yeah.
bless the man.
Yeah. Anyways, also I just want to make mention, I know you and I have discussed this before, and I think it ties in nicely with our ceremonies and retired numbers discussion here. We are planning in two future episodes, so I'm going to put this out there to the listeners to, maybe they can have their own discussions at home, or have something, make comments when the time comes. We want to do an all-time roster. And we were just thinking three lines, three forward lines, three defensive pairings, two goalies. I want to throw a little bit of a twist out there. Who would you pick for your coach and your two assistant coaches? We're thinking something along that line. And another episode, we want to do a Mount Rushmore. This one's probably going to be a little bit harder. This is why I want to give a heads up and a little bit of a lead time. Mount Rushmore, as we all know, have the four presidents. So basically, you're wanting to pick the four best Habs players of all time, but I'll throw a little bone and give one honorable mention space. So four greatest players, one honorable mention. Who would be on your Mount Rushmore? Something for everybody to think about for later episode when that comes up. And on that note, we are going to head off to today's trivia answer.
Trivia answer. So three jerseys are shared with by two players. Those numbers are five, Guy Lapointe and Boom Boom Geoffrion. Number 12, Dickie Moore and Yvonne Cornwallis. And number 16, Elmer Locke and the Pocket Rocket Richard.
Hmm.
They are the ones who, the three maybe unlucky ones that share a jersey buddy, but
Hmm.
those are the three numbers. So
Yeah.
5, 12, and 16.
Yeah, and I understand how that happens. And people may think because I know people have said to me because I've told them before, well, how can you have the number retired twice? We are in the midst of what could be the perfect scenario for that to happen now, as we discussed earlier. Mario Tremblay wore 14 back in the 70s, all them cups, everything. Well, who's got 14 now? Suzuki. So here's where you can come into that double. And I'm just trying to explain to people this is how that scenario happens.
Right.
Yeah. And on that note, we're going to sign off for tonight. And I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. I hope everybody enjoyed the discussion on the ceremony. And again, we want to send out our thoughts to the Dryden family and the Canadians family on his passing. We both agree that was a very appropriate ceremony.
Absolutely. Heartfelt, touching, the tribute all night long in between each stoppage. You couldn't ask for more if you're a Montreal fan. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know, it's definitely a well-earned tribute.
Mhm. And on that note, we just want to say thanks for watching. Remember to click, like, share, comment, subscribe. It would really help us out and help us grow our podcast and get our numbers rolling. And Steve's going to close it off.
Keep your stick on the ice.